Chapter 1. The COVID Awakening. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Albert Einstein. The night that changed everything. Looking back on my amazing childhood and life, there were plenty of things I was sad or upset about. So to be totally clear, sadness and depression are not the same thing. Sadness is temporary, a natural response to difficult situations that usually resolves within reasonable time. Depression is something else entirely, a persistent mental state that interferes with daily functioning and can last indefinitely. The first time I can truly say depression reared its ugly face was when COVID first hit. 2020, the 3 a.m. crisis. The air in my living room was thick. I had fallen asleep on the couch with only the night's light surrounding me, when suddenly, I jolted upright, as if something had pushed me awake. Something deeply unsettling. A thought, a feeling, or maybe something else altogether. I never had COVID to my knowledge. Could have been asymptomatic. Who knows? But I remember those dark times. I remember the obsessive news watching, seeing the endless ticker of affected people, sick and dying. It disturbed me to think about all the family members who had to watch their loved ones slowly die alone in a room on a machine called a ventilator, when just the day before they were walking around just fine. Then it happened. I woke up around 3 a.m. in what I can only say was a mind attack. My chest felt like someone had wrapped steel bands around my lungs. My mind was proactively plunging to the lowest depths known to man. The familiar couch beneath me suddenly felt foreign, unsafe. I shot to my feet, my heart hammering against my ribs like a caged bird desperate to escape. I began pacing back and forth, my focus locked on my breath, because part of me was convinced I wasn't breathing right. My chest tightened with rising panic, and the fear of death surged through my mind like a flood I couldn't stop. I rushed to the window and threw it open. The outside air hit my face, and for a moment, it felt like I could finally breathe again. Then I saw it. A thick, unmoving fog, heavy and low, clung to the trees in my backyard. It looked almost unnatural, like something that shouldn't be there. But in that moment, I couldn't care. Not about the fog, not even about what it meant. I just needed air. I just needed to survive. This is it, I thought, then paused. Is it? That pause, that tiny moment of questioning, created the first crack in the wall of panic. The breakthrough moment. Something was different about this moment. Instead of just suffering along with my mind and the uninvited thoughts, I started questioning what was happening. I ran a more thorough personal self-test involving everything I'd been told about COVID. Checking my chest activity, monitoring my breath patterns, examining my thoughts about the fear of shutdown, questioning what chaos would actually look like. Confronting my fear of the end of the world as we know it. I stood there at the window for as long as I could before I started pacing again. I was realizing something profound. My thoughts and feelings about all this were amplifying everything, creating a feedback loop of anxiety. I was literally summoning hell. But here's the key. I recognized this was happening. Reflection moment. When was the last time you questioned your thoughts, instead of just believing them? What would happen if you paused and asked, is this thought true, in your next moment of mental distress? The Avatar solution. I knew then I needed a mental distraction, so I turned on the TV and went straight to YouTube. The familiar interface glowed before me, offering endless options for escape or engagement. It didn't take long scrolling through recommended thumbnails before one caught my attention. Avatar: The Last Airbender, not the blue ones. I'd never really watched more than 5 episodes in my life, but I always remembered and considered it one of the better, more spiritual shows on TV. The clip showed a battle between the Avatar and the head firebender. I'm not sure how it ended, but either way, the show's pleasant nature mentally saved me in that moment, and I was able to drift back into a calming sleep. But that whole situation changed everything. The Depression Access Card. Your thoughts become your world. Lao Tzu. In the days that followed, that experience stuck with me like a leech on my brain. It had shown me that it was possible for me to feel that low and that bad. I'd never known depression to that extent, and I was fearful and anxious just knowing it could happen again at any time. Here's where it gets interesting and disturbing. For example, in those following days, just by thinking and recalling my thoughts from that night, I could mentally put myself right back there. Just by meditating on it, studying my own feelings and emotions about it, I could instantly bring the entire, super low state of being back to life within me. It was like discovering I had a remote control to hell, and I couldn't stop pressing the button. It was like a magic trick, or curse, that I could place upon myself whenever, consciously and unconsciously. I had instant access to this sadder world, not by choice, but simply by thought alone. Key Insight Box. The Depression Access Card. Once you experience deep depression, your mind creates neural pathways to that state. Simply thinking about depression can trigger the same biochemical response as the original crisis. This isn't weakness, it's how the brain works. But if you can think yourself into depression, you can think yourself out of it. The what's the point spiral. The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. Robin Sharma. This is when I started having those deeper moments where I'd ask myself, what's the point? What's the point in shopping when I already have everything I need? What's the point of watching the news or national sports events when everything appears scripted or rigged? What's the point of eating right when all the food I love most is actually really bad for me? What's the point in doing anything good in a world that won't appreciate your efforts? The questions came like waves, each one pulling me deeper into an ocean of meaninglessness. I could feel my perspective shifting, colors draining from experiences that once brought joy. We've seen what happens to the JFKs, MLKs, and Bob Marleys of the world. So we developed this pre-notion that it's dangerous, uncool, and unintelligent to be good, too smart, or go against the grain. What's the point? List could go on and on for everybody in various ways. As for me, it was as if I couldn't see a good side to anything. Things I once found joy and pleasure in suddenly seemed like chores. Routine felt like a perpetual, never-ending trap, and even my own dreams and visions of a beautiful future felt dead, meaningless, and unachievable. I felt like a prisoner within my own mind and body, a slave to the lower forces of this world. The McDonald's revelation. The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken. Samuel Johnson. For example, I got sad that I couldn't eat at McDonald's because COVID shut it down. But here's the thing, I don't even eat at McDonald's or like it anymore. Ever since the Super Size Me documentary, I've never seen McDonald's as a good thing. But the sadness was real. It hit me in the chest like a small grief, completely disproportionate to my actual relationship with the restaurant. But it boiled down to an idea of what I was used to. As a child, I grew up on Happy Meals with toys that brought me pleasure. The idea of it no longer being there was emotionally unsettling, even though I had no desire to actually eat there. This was pure manufactured nostalgia, creating artificial loss. Insight box. Manufactured nostalgia. Corporations create emotional attachments to brands during childhood, then trigger those attachments later to create artificial loss and the need to consume. Your sadness isn't about the product, it's about losing the manufactured memory of comfort. The real discovery. What you fear most isn't blocking your path. It is the path. S.K.O. But in that 3 a.m. moment, I had discovered something powerful. I could redirect my mind. I could choose what to focus on. Instead of feeding the fear with more COVID news or dark thoughts, I chose Avatar. Instead of staying trapped in the panic, I used breathing and observation to break free. The moment I realized I had choice in that crisis, everything shifted. Not the external circumstances, those remained the same, but my relationship to my own thoughts transformed completely. I didn't know it then, but I had just discovered that depression isn't something that happens to you. It's something you actively participate in creating through your thoughts. And if you can create it, you can also uncreate it. This was my first lesson in what I now call thought control. Not the dystopian kind, but the liberating recognition that thoughts are things, and we have more power over them than we've been told. Chapter Summary. Key takeaways from Chapter 1. Depression requires active mental participation. You can redirect your mind during crisis moments. Manufactured nostalgia creates artificial emotional pain. If you can think yourself into depression, you can think yourself out. Questioning your thoughts is the first step to freedom. That mind or panic attack wasn't just a mental breakdown, it was a breakthrough. It was the beginning of understanding that in a world designed to manufacture depression, learning to manage your own consciousness isn't just helpful, it's essential for survival. Reflection questions. Can you remember a time when you redirected your thoughts during a crisis? What manufactured nostalgia might be creating artificial sadness in your life? How might your life change if you saw thoughts as things you choose rather than things that happen to you? In the next chapter, we'll explore the proof that depression is indeed just a thought and why no babies are born knowing how to be depressed.